Okay, here we go with part 2 of Mini Bike Rising, the mid-60s little Indian mini bike. So what I've been working on is welding on this tube. So before I welded it on, I did some practicing. Trying to get my technique down. I'm not the greatest welder, that's for sure, but I'm willing to give it a shot. This is what I was after. But here's what I got. I had to go back and forth, between, so I didn't get one nice continuous bead, but I think I got good penetration and heat to it, so I'll clean it up a little bit and call it good. This seems to be going pretty good. I got the fork on there, and it looks nice and straight. Yep. Alright, continuing on. I stressed out for a couple days worrying about getting this thing on there straight, but it eyeballs up pretty good. I need to do a little bit more work on the frame and forks. There's a couple of rough spots. But generally speaking, it's a winner. Yep, that's going to be a nice bike. I slipped the tires and wheels on it for a second, just to get a good look at it. Definitely looking better. The frame is 90% cleaned up. It's nice and straight. Alright, so the next thing to do is continue to work on this frame, clean up all the rough spots, and get it primed for painting. Alright. It's funny how a person can get a wild hair, That's what happened to me with this mini bike thing. Before you know it, boom, I had one and now I'm into it. So compared to building these cycle carts, which take 10 months to a year, this thing I'll have a couple months in it and it'll be a sweet little ride, and it'll make a nice pit bike when I'm out racing the cycle carts. I thought it'd be a fun thing to make a pit bike. So anyway, it's looking pretty good now that the frame's cleaned up and I got the wheels on it. But I got more work to do on the frame, so I'm going to take it back apart. Okay. Continuing on, I'm trying to get some primer on this frame and the forks. So I'm just scuffing everything down with 180 grit. Then I'll shoot some primer on it, and that'll expose whatever else needs to be worked on. I managed to make some progress on this frame in the last couple evenings. I shot a coat of primer on it. I spent quite a bit of time sanding on it. I grinded on it. I did a little bit of welding. There was a couple of holes. So it's not looking too bad. A few more places I need to sand and smooth out. A couple more coats of primer. And then I think I can shoot it with some paint, start building it back up. Okay. Half the fun of building something is thinking about it and planning ahead and trying to decide what you want to do. So this is the engine that came with it, a little 2-horse, and I could fix that up and it looks sweet. It's a good little runner. And then I had this motor for a while. This is a Lawson. It's I think late 40s, early 50s model. It's complete. It's a Survivor. I haven't got it running yet, but it's a cute little motor. It even has a Even has a clutch on it, of all things. But for this bike, I won't be putting that motor on there. And then my buddy Brian, he gave me this motor, which is a 3-horse. And it used to have this carb and tank on it, and muffler. And the recoil was all froze up, so I got that working. And then I took the tank and filter and carb off the little white one there, because it's the same basically. And you know, that makes that motor runs pretty good. Smokes a little bit, but I don't know if I'm going to use this motor or not. It has a dubious past, I do believe. I'm not quite sure what's going on. And then, you know, I've had this edger here for, I don't know, 20 years probably. This is a 3.5 horsepower Briggs. It's a mid-90s engine, so it's more modern. There's hardly any hours on this motor. It'd be a good candidate because it's got the horsepower and it's fresh. But it's too modern looking. So anyway, I also have a line on a motor that looks just like this one, only it's 3 horsepower. It's an early 60s, maybe a late 50s. I've been talking to somebody that has one, willing to sell it to me. So still contemplating, still thinking about what motor I'm going to put on it. But it won't be long before I have the frame all painted up, and I'll need to start thinking about this stuff, so, or make my decision. Anyway, that's half the fun of building. Okay, I think I'm at the point now where I'm ready to mock it up, mock up the frame with the wheels, controls, cables, everything but the engine basically. I've finished prepping and sanding for the most part. I've sanded it and primed it twice, and it's definitely looking decent, but I'll do it one more time before I paint it. Actually, when I'm done with this mock-up work, it'll have the engine, it'll be a running bike, so I can do all the testing. Then I'll take it all apart, just like if you were building a hot rod. Take it all apart, paint it, and then build it back up. So I have the tires and wheels, and the brake. I already had those items. Got the throttle and the cable, and the brake and the cable. So should be pretty much a bolt together arrangement. I do have to come up with have to weld something here for the cable to come along and attach. I'm not quite sure. I'll figure that out when I get there. Okay, so onward with mocking this thing up and running it around the house a couple times. Okay, let's start putting this together. Get the fork on. Feels good. Okay, so get it up on a block here. So, gotta get this one in there. Washer go on the outside. Comes in from this side. There's a washer. Spacer. It's a little bit fidgety, as they say. And they we gotta get this washer in there. Okay. Alright, that looks good. Yeah, that's centered up pretty good. Alright, I can live with that. Okay, let's put this front wheel on. Gotta get this spacer in there. This other side. We gotta kind of clean out that hole a little bit. Okay. I could probably use a couple washers in there because I can tell it's pulling the forks in, but I can do that at a later time. Yeah, see, that lines up nice. It's a little snug. Nothing a half hour running won't loosen up. Okay. Alright, so next I want to put on the controls. Okay. Okay, so time to mess with these controls. See what's going on there. So I need a Phillips. So far that looks pretty straightforward. Get it together. Yep, that's going pretty good. Well, that works like a charm. So that'll get routed down. I don't know, maybe through here. I'll have to look at some pictures and see how the guys are doing it. But that'll come around here to the engine. So that's probably like this. I don't know. Okay. So now I gotta put on the brake lever. Okay. So I have the brake lever arrangement right here. So I got this grip, you know, and it's just way sloppy on here. This must be an extra one for the throttle side. I'll have to wrap some tape or something around there to take up the slop. But I made a little pencil mark where this installs. So I'll get it roughly in place here. And then I can line everything up. These screws use an Allen wrench. It's good I'm putting this together because then I can figure out how to be careful when it's painted and not to screw up the paint. Okay. Let's get these roughly snug down. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Maybe a little bit closer. See, right there I could scratch the paint if I wasn't careful. Okay, I'm going to call it good right there. That bugs me. Actually, I have another one of these somewhere around here. Let me see if I can find that. Came with the mini bike. So I have another one, but you can see it's a slightly different style. And you can see this is a 7/8 and this is the larger for the throttle. I think I'll go back to where I got this and I think they'll have one in the right size. So in the meantime, we'll just slip it on there for looks. I've routed the cables, put on the clips. Here's the throttle cable, and then this will curl up here. Okay, so then my focus really is to figure out how I'm going to connect this cable here to this caliper. So this caliper, I got a piece of tape there holding it at the angle that I want. But this caliper has been modified so it'll fit in here. It's been machined. And they did a pretty nice job on it. It's still a little rough, and I'm going to clean it up, smooth it out. It'll all be clean and fresh looking when I'm done. But I'm mocking it up now. So here's my thinking on the connection. Okay, so I was down to the hardware store and I found this little hexagon fitting here. It's 1/4 on this side and 3/8 on this side. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to actually drill a hole through it so that this cable end here can bolt to it. It'll look like this in essence. I'm going to make a tab that will weld on right here. And then I can bolt this to it. Here's a section view. Here's the frame, and then the bracket. This is the 3/8 side, and then I'll drill a hole through it, and then this is really just for looks. I guess it could be a stop nut or bolt. So that's what I'm going to do there. I got to do a little bit of fabricating here, and I've determined if I make a piece that's a couple inches long, then I can trim it down. This looks like a good angle. There'll be a return spring right here to here, so that won't be too hard. And I think that'll work out. So I got to do a little fabricating. That's my next plan of attack. Get that part welded on. Okay, so I made this little bracket here. There's that little fitting, and then I'll drill a hole through this fitting, and then this will bolt on. That's a 1/4 28 fine thread. So that'll be the cable stop, and a nice connection goes right up to here. I use a cable stop there. I'll have to cut this extra off. So I got to clean off the primer here and get ready to weld it, but that's pretty much the location. I think that's going to work. Okay, the bracket's made. It's all cleaned up, and I cleaned off the primer. So now I just need to set up the bike, get a good ground here, and get this thing welded on. Alright, this might work out pretty good, I think. So this is looking pretty good, I think. Got the welding cleaned up. And shoot a little primer on it. Just have this loosely screwed in there. Still got to drill it out. That's lining up pretty good. Okay. Yep, I think that'll fly. Okay, so I got a little primer on it. It's looking pretty clean, and it lines up nicely with the arm. So next I have to drill a hole through this so I can get that bolted on. Okay, getting close. Alright, I've made some progress here, but it's not copacetic just yet. So this worked out alright. Got the hole drilled, bolted on there. I gotta shorten that. So that will swivel, find its own center, so to speak, in line, and then I'll tighten it up with some Loctite. But here's the problem. This little bracket needs to be longer, just to make room for this wire to kind of snake its way out there. I leave it just a little bit long. So I'm going to fashion a new bracket. I think I can manage that. One that comes out another 1/2 inch probably. Alright, so pretty close to having this figured out. I'll wrap it up tomorrow night. Okay. I ran down to Ace Hardware, found this little bracket, which I can cut off right there and bend around this cable stop. I got this one instead because it's got a round barrel. And then I picked up a spring that I've got to do some modification to. So this is the right thickness of metal, I think. Alright, so I'm going to make this new bracket. Okay, so I've made a little progress on this bracket here. Got it fashioned. Got to give it a little bit of shape and finish it off, but it looks like it's going to work. I had purchased this other spring and put it in here, and it just wasn't strong enough. And then after playing with it a little bit, I determined that if I go to this hole here, it just isn't going to work. I need a tab right here. So I have this little tab I'm going to weld on so I can attach the spring, and then it's directly in line with the arm so it doesn't pull it side to side. And then this, I've tested this. This is nice and stout at that length. So I'm going to take off the rear wheel and take it out there and weld this on. So the mock-up work is continuing, and this caliper and brake cable arrangement took me a couple of evenings, but I think I got it licked. As you recall, I made this fitting here and welded that tab. Made this bracket, so that works much better now. Then I added this tab and this spring, and then it routes up to this. The spring is working pretty good. I had to put a little WD-40 in here. These are kind of cheaply made, you know, so you got to get the tolerances just right and oil them up a little. But you can see that it's going to function fine. That's plenty of travel there. This is still out of adjustment. Got to get the rear wheel on here, and then I can get the pad set. So from a standpoint of mocking this thing up, I'm getting there. I think I got to put the rear wheel on, and then I'm going into the motor mounting and the chain and the clutch. So that'll be a whole nother adventure. I think I'll call this the end of the second video, and in the third one we'll get the motor on, do some test driving prior to disassembly and painting. So I'm getting there. I'm happy so far. Okay.